Cian, and firstly I want to say I'm very proud that it is the Social Democrats who have tabled this motion this evening defending the rights of those in lower pay and in precarious work. And I want to commend my colleague Gary Gannon, who has taken a lead in preparing this motion. I also want to thank the deputies from Sinn Féin, Labour, Solidarity, PVP and the Independents for supporting this motion as well. If there ever was any doubt in anyone's mind about the crucial work that people, workers in jobs, our care workers, our cleaners, our shelf stackers, our retail workers and everyone in essential and frontline workers, the role that they play, if there's ever any doubt, this pandemic will have put that doubt to rest. I think the best and the most appropriate and fitting legacy and tribute we could pay to those workers for their contribution during this crisis is to agree that we will have universal healthcare, access to affordable housing and a living wage for everyone. If we are serious about solidarity, then nothing short of this is acceptable. And rhetoric that we're all in this together is all very well, fine and good, but action is what we need. I have to say I'm very disappointed with the response from the government to the motion that we've put forward. The government is effectively, through their amendment, seeking to delete our motion pretty much in its entirety. And it's a deliberate attempt to remove any reference to collective bargaining, workers' protections and workplace representation. So I want to appeal to all TDs, and especially to the Green Party TDs, not to vote for the government amendment and instead to support this motion and stand with low-paid workers. I want to address just some of the comments from the Minister English there, and he talked about, correctly said, we should be wary about dividing workers into different categories. And yet, tonight, the government is putting forward an amendment to our motion that exactly seeks to do that and seeks to introduce language about dividing workers into different categories of public and private. And why is it that Taoiseach, every time when he makes a contribution, he's always dividing workers into public and private? What is that about when we should be wary, as I agree with Minister English, about dividing workers into different categories? But I'd say this, it is right to point out and put emphasis on the rights of workers who are in lower pay and in precarious working conditions. We are right to highlight that. Just in relation to some of the facts, contrary to what Minister English has said, 23% of Irish workers are low paid, according to the OECD. And that's the third worst in the European Union. Third worst we are in Ireland, the European Union. Young people, women, migrants are particularly affected by low pay and precarious work, especially those working in retail and in services. And we've also seen continued privatisation, outsourcing, casualisation in healthcare has increased the numbers in low paid and precarious work. In relation to Minister Troy's comments earlier, and they were very contradictory comments, I have to say. And he firstly told us that the government is committed to a living wage, but not now, not next year, sometime in the future. He then actually argued against the introduction of a living wage, said it should be a voluntary measure. He then admitted and defined a living wage as a wage that is required so you can meet the basic costs to live. And then he attacked the idea of increasing the minimum wage on the basis that it's a very blunt tool for addressing poverty. And his argument for that was that not everyone on the minimum wage lives in a household suffering from poverty. Well, what about all the people living on a minimum wage who are in households suffering from poverty? Why should they not have a minimum floor when they go to work so they can meet the basic costs of childcare, housing, putting food on the table, being able to participate fully in their local community, being able to say to their children, yes, you can go on that summer camp that's been run, you can go on that school trip. What about those people on a minimum wage? Why do they not come into the equation when we're talking about increasing the minimum wage? We have a very simple choice this evening as to what we do. And I think and I want to just address one final point before I hand over to my colleague. There is no better way in terms of the economic benefits of addressing low pay. There's no better way of us having a recovery than addressing low pay and putting the money into the pockets of low-paid workers and into the community and into local shops. There's no better way forward. Thank you.